Friends, we're talking about, Marcus Jackson, love it. All right, I'm going to stop reading the comments. We're talking about creativity in the recruitment industry. And I know this is a big thing for everyone on this call. Everyone has expressed a very, very strong amount of creativity in their business development over the course of their careers in recruitment, consulting, etc. What I'm finding at the moment, especially, is like the recruitment market worldwide now is like $700 billion, and they say it's going to be $2 trillion by the end of 2030. But everyone's using the same techniques that they've used for the past 30 years. Very few people are actually trying to leverage the new technologies out there and really leverage things like creative content to push business development strategies. Whereas in, say, the software industry, it's a massive thing. People are really thinking outside the box and how to reach out to prospects. When it comes to recruitment, it's still a little bit behind the times with using those BD strategies. And as a recruitment trainer and also the owner of a sales recruitment company, I like to use all of those techniques. And bringing all of these beautiful people here together today, I thought we could have a good chat about how we're all leveraging those new techniques and how we're leveraging the old techniques, but in a more creative way. So I thought we could start with just doing some intros. Why don't we start with you, Lauren? Can you hear me? Is it Lauren?
Oh my goodness! Well, thank you so much for the early sessions. That's always great. John, can you hear me? Okay, Hamish?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. My name is Lauren Jones. I'm the CEO and founder of Leap Consulting Solutions. I've been in the industry for 26 years in almost every capacity, but specifically focused on all things staffing tech, recruiting tech, HR tech, work tech for a little over a decade. So I am just excited to be here and talk about sales and recruitment because it's a big issue.
And Lauren, we're excited to have you too. Ever since I saw you on stage at Boulogne Engage last year in that amazing, I call it Cellar Pink power suit. I just had to have you on a webinar.
Got to be memorable.
Yeah, it's just I remember that talk so well, and it's like you just exude creativity in all of your approaches. So I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you.
Ephraim, give us an intro.
Cheers, Hamish. Hi, guys. Ephraim Stevenson. I'm the founder and CEO of Collar Talent Group, based in Australia. We're officially the fastest growing recruitment agency in Australia. We've been going now for just a little over 2.5 years. We've successfully scaled to 14 offices. Full-time headcount internal is circa 145 consultants across the entire business. Though we've got north of 1,000 employees, including our casual. So pretty fast growth over the last 2.5 years. Obviously, big admirer, obviously, Hamish. Great to finally meet you, Lauren, and obviously Keith. Only heard great things about you, obviously, over at Bullhorn, mate. So yeah, excited to be on the call. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Ev, and I'm excited to hear some of the incredible ways that you've used things like creativity to build Collar, like fastest growing recruitment company over 2.5 years, 140 plus employees. Like those are nuts numbers in staffing, like insane. Like most companies don't do that over the course of their whole recruitment journey over like 10, 20, 30 years. So really excited to hear like what the secret is without revealing all your secrets. But I'm sure there's going to be some fun content to go over.
Absolutely.
And Keith, you're very well known in this circle, very well known in all of the chats that we're seeing right now, and very well known for your fun drawings and creativity as well. So give us an intro for those who don't know you.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. And my name, obviously, is Keith Waitman. I'm an RVP of sales with Bullhorn. I've been there for 11 years. which is wild to think. Running both net new and existing customer teams. And prior to Bullhorn, I actually started my career in staffing. And before that, I drove an ice cream truck. So there's that.
I love this.
Oh, okay. So tell us more about this ice cream truck.
It was my job in college. I used to drive an ice cream truck. I used to eat salt and vinegar chips and the chip witches the whole time on the truck, but it was a great job.
So yeah. was this in Virginia?
That's so amazing, Keith.
It was in Virginia.
Oh man, you've never told me that.
Please tell me you were in the creepy white van. Please, the creepy white van with the off-tune music.
No, I had the music. It was a white truck, not a van, and it was not creepy. I was a very friendly ice cream man. No creepy vibes there.
Okay, so you're
creepy
playing
vibes. Okay,
you're
good.
playing green sleeves, zero creepy vibes, just good ice cream and salt and vinegar chips. I never thought of the two going together, but now you say it. Oh man,
Me neither. Sounds nasty.
Sweet and salty, they're great.
Oh, very good. Okay, so between us, we've probably got close to a century worth of recruitment experience. Now we've seen cold calling's been around for 30 years. Cold emailing's been around for about 15 years. Over the past 5 years, you've seen a lot of emergence of things like cold video, being able to now like do like really specialized, personalized gifting. I just want to ask like the group, like what are some of the most intricate and interesting ways that you're getting out to market, especially to the recruitment industry for say Keith and Lauren, but from as a recruitment founder, from like going out to market and picking up new clients where you're not just relying on the old school strategies.
Is that to me? Sorry, mate. Was that my question?
Just to the group. Like, what are the new strategies you're implementing from, like, say, Lauren, from your consulting, from Leap, Keith, for your team going out to market to recruitment companies, and Ephraim being a recruitment founder?
Yeah.
What are you doing to leverage your teams to make sure that you're working closer on client acquisition using new techniques?
Cool. Happy to jump in here, guys. So I guess Collar Talent Group, obviously being a fairly new business, the strategy behind, I guess, the growth was we wanted to partner with the largest accounts in Australia. And I guess in the areas of specialization that obviously we recruit for, historically, those accounts would always stick with the top 5 recruitment brands globally. And I honestly believe COVID had a huge shift with that, where typically they would be using those agencies mainly down to price points. And when we actually launched the business, what I wanted to do was actually go in there more solutions focused. It's going to sound like a cliche, I know, but more solutions focused. Yes, price is obviously a critical element to actually even have a conversation. But the way we structure things over here is obviously we go and approach a client, and we can approach it in a number of different ways, whether that's through industry connections, networking, industry events, or just the general cold calling, video calling. I'm personally a big believer in treat everybody as you expect to be treated, and you can't go wrong. And that's probably one of the best business development tools I can actually give anyone. I'll give you a quick example. This week we just signed a global client on a basically tier 1 national preferred supplier agreement. In fact, we're the only recruitment agency on this panel for this global firm. How this client came about was I was in an Uber about 4 months ago. I was catching an Uber and I was speaking to the Uber driver like I speak to anybody at any point of the day if I bump into people. Long story short, About 2.5 months after that Uber ride, I got an email from a lady who basically introduced herself, saying that I'd met her husband in an Uber about 2.5 months ago. I was, providing him with advice as to how he could get a job, and she was happy to tell me this gentleman is now actually landing himself a general manager role, and she wanted to thank me for my time. And actually, Ephraim, obviously, while I've obviously got you in this email, I'm also looking at putting a tender together, or be interested to see whether you'd be interested in putting a tender together to actually pick up all our work as we obviously look to scale into the Australian market. And again, I'm proud to say that we've actually just signed a national preferred supply agreement, all based on a conversation that I had in an Uber. So again, I don't think there's any right or wrong way of obviously doing business development. I think in recruitment, the old saying goes, we're only as good as our last placement. So for me and the entire collar business, it's really treating every single assignment that we work on as if it was our last assignment. That way, obviously, you're getting more, more clarity, you're getting more transparency over basically the whole recruitment process. And I guess ultimately the client's getting a better outcome as well. So how do we win those accounts? Well, ultimately, there's obviously a lot of cold call, and there's a lot of networking. There's a lot, of emails. The majority of the business that I personally pick up obviously come from LinkedIn. And I've said this time and time again, I think, everyone's missing a trick by at least obviously trying to brand themselves better, get their business out there. Whether you're in Australia or not, I mean, obviously the collar brand has become basically with recruitment in Australia. I'm proud to say that Collar is actually one of the top 50 workplaces for women in Australia, and we actually got that credit. Basically, we got that award towards the end of last year. That all kind of goes side by side with everything we do from a brand and marketing. We've got to have the best tech stack that money can buy. And obviously, Hamish, we've been speaking late last year. We're just about to implement Salesforce. Keith, Salesforce. Basically, we target recruit plugged into there. And for us as a business, we want to be seen as pioneers, game changers. We want to be at the forefront of everything that happens. I guess business development or writing good content, obviously, to attract clients is something that I've done throughout my whole recruitment career. I've been in the industry now 23 years, and I've always been a big provider of content. I'm proud to say, obviously, I'm also now a LinkedIn top recruitment voice, which is all content-led, right? So basically, the more content you're writing, the more visibility you're getting, the more views you're getting, ultimately, the more business development you're going to be doing without even picking up the phone. And I think that's one of the strategies that we use really well at Collar. The whole business is behind LinkedIn, behind the brand and the marketing, and that just generates more candidate inquiries, more client inquiries, without really traditionally doing your cold calling or basically your email campaigns.
So all of that resonates so heavily with me. I'm a big fan of Uber chats. I've done some of my biggest deals ever on chairlifts.
Nice.
Chairlifts when you've got 7 minutes where people can't get away from you. Just trying to get to know them as much as possible. And yes, of course, I've seen your content. It's content on LinkedIn in Australia is really hard to do, and you've managed to do it effectively. And on the Salesforce front for Keith, Ephraim, when's that contract up? No. But for Lauren and Keith, to kind of segue from what Ephraim said about LinkedIn content, both of you very, very active on LinkedIn, very active with putting out, creating demand through content, creating demand through podcasts and videos. How are you utilizing that rather than just an inbound lead generation? How are you using that for outbound?
Keith, go ahead. I'll let you go first, and then I'll finish it up.
All right, I was going to let you go first, but for me, our customers live on LinkedIn. So for me not to have some type of presence is such a huge mistake. To what Ephraim was saying is it's a great way to create a personal brand. I think where most staffing and sales recruiting teams get it wrong is they go post jobs.
Yes.
Or they post company content, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't really differentiate you. It doesn't create a personal brand that when someone thinks of, I need this, I'm looking for this type of role, like I think of Hamish. Like if I think of tech recruiting, I go think of Hamish based on the content and things that he does.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good takeaway for anybody listening that may be thinking about posting more on LinkedIn. Start to think of how you can create a personal brand and build a following that way versus I'm just posting out jobs, because that really doesn't necessarily get the eyeballs that you think it may.
Completely agree. There are some rules, particularly with LinkedIn, right? You have to educate and inform or entertain. So
Yes.
and if you've got the trifecta of that, obviously, well, we can do all of those things. That's where you have virility. And so, but creating a personal brand, both with your, frontline people and through your brand, is harder and harder with, AI coming into the picture and creating volume and creating that impersonal sort of mass show up and throw up is what I call it, right? And what that does is it, creates an icky feeling on the part of whoever is receiving it, but we're also not being cognizant of the generations that are now in the workforce, right? The way that we talk to millennials and Gen Z is going to be different than the way we engage with us Gen Xers who like more traditional methodologies of communication. We actually like more traditional messaging. And millennials want real authenticity. Gen Zers want you to meet them where they are, whether that's in chat or video or instant messaging or anything like that. So A, we have to be cognizant of the message. B, we also have to be cognizant of where the message is going and how we think it's going to be received. And, I think 2024 is the year of personalization and authenticity. And if you can have those two as your sort of guiding lights, I think you're going to get good responses from all generations.
Oh, 100%. Firstly, Lauren, you're Gen X. You need to send me your skin regime, like right now.
Yes, I am 50, guys. No, I'm older than dirt. So, it's okay. I'm accepting it now, but yes.
Well, so on that note about like making the content relatable, actionable, and emotional. Because on Keith's note of like, it can't just be job posting. It can't just be old school corporate content. And one of the biggest issues when I'm training recruiters and I'm training salespeople to like think outside of the box more, it's, well, I'm just losing complete confidence in my ability. Like, what if my friends make fun of me? What if my boss pulls me into a room and stop putting content out? And it was like, one of the reasons why I started my business was because I just wanted to say whatever I want. But it's over time, the more you actually create content, the more you just go, do you know what? Like, people actually don't care enough to get upset by it. But the power it creates when you're actually saying things that are super emotional, but also have an actionable filter that people, and you're targeting, like you said, Lauren, like you're targeting different generations with different content, and you're using actionable approaches, giving them something that they can take away from a short form piece of video. Like, one of my favorite things to say when I'm teaching people how to do like video prospecting is like, was only about 6 years ago, people would watch a cooking show for half an hour to learn how to cook a spaghetti. Like, we all remember that, right? Like, like it would be like daytime TV. It's, well, now we're going to show how to cook a carbonara, and you'd watch it for 25 minutes. Now you learn the same thing in 45 seconds on TikTok. It's the same recipe, but it's something where the attention span is progressively getting shorter over time. Yeah. And it's one of the things where Yeah.
Well, on that, data shows that we've gone from 20 to 30 minutes of like concentration time to 7 to 9 minutes of concentration time. Not to mention just the initial data on how many seconds we actually listen when we first engage with somebody. I mean, statistics tell us we listen to the first 5 to 7 seconds, and then it falls off, and then you've got to recapture our attention. And so, Hamish, you're absolutely right. Attention span is everything, and it's waning. And so the more long-winded you are, like I'm getting right here, the less people are going to pay attention.
Let's focus on that attention span thing for a second. And this is a question for you, Lauren. So the more technology we get, with AI, with sequencing tools, just across the board, marketing automation in general, the more inherently lazy we get. And that's, I think, the biggest issue when it comes to recruiting and prospecting now. Like, you have all these recruitment companies now picking up all of these real marketing automation tools, like a lot of companies did 10 years ago, and just going, I'm going to send an email to 1,000 people, and they're going to get one response because it's the same email. It's not personalized. So what are you doing with your clients to educate them on this? Like, use the tools for good, but using the tools, like, you still have to use them in a really, really systematic way that isn't just a spray and pray method. Like, this is like, you have to really still focus on personalization.
Look, I mean, AI, with great power comes great responsibility. I always use Spider-Man, Spider-Man quotes for that, because because we do have all of this technology at our fingertips. And literally right before this conversation, I was looking at another sales enablement communication distribution tool, right? Yep. Which, I'm fascinated by them. But the power is there to create personalization. And as a matter of fact, I get about 50 in-mails a day, from variety of different software companies or what have you. And what I'm looking for when I get those messages, and I am looking at them, believe it or not, I am looking for, how is somebody leveraging technology to connect with me? And I know they're using it. I can tell when AI is gotten in there. But when I see AI coupled with somebody caring about what that AI message says, that's when I will respond, because I know, I can tell when it's just insert name, insert part of my profile here. I can see dynamic that fields. But when I see it coupled with some thoughtfulness, it means something, and I will respond.
Oh, totally. Like, there's a recruitment company in the UK, and like, this poor kid, like, he's in SDR. I think he's like 6 months into his career, and I got into this sequence, and it was like a week ago. He sent me a video saying, "Happy New Year's Day. Hopefully your head doesn't hurt too much." And I'm like, "Oh, mate, come on." My response was, I hadn't responded yet. My response was like, "Listen, like, love the fact you're using video, but like, here are a couple of tips." But that's just going to progressively get worse if you're letting the technology run you rather than actually leveraging the technology for your gain.
You still have to correct AI. It's not perfect. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I was just going to say, like, if you don't understand the fundamentals of outreach and being able to do something manually, trying to automate it is only going to make it worse at scale. Yeah. So technology is great, and it is a huge efficiency if you understand the basics of how to do the thing that you're looking to automate and scale.
Yes,
100%.
Exactly. So think about this. So this is a question for you, Keith, then. You spend a lot of time on your content. I did an art degree, and I still can't draw as good as you. Like, It's one of those things. It's like you mentioned scalability and automation, but when it comes to producing like your mind maps, when it produces your whiteboard drawings, like where's the line? Like how much time should you actually be investing in this content?
I think it depends on what your goals are, right? And for me, it's something I enjoy doing, so it doesn't seem like work. It seems like play for me. So for me, it doesn't feel like a lot of work. And it's, again, we talk about if you create a brand that differentiates yourself from others. For me, it's, again, it doesn't feel like work. It's something I enjoy doing.
Yeah, and did you train and teach your team to do similar things, or is it something where you, like, without trying to force people to leverage your personal brand into their personal brand, like what's the process there?
Yeah, I certainly don't force them to draw. Not everybody is a visual learner or something that they want to do, but I do like to try and expose them to different ways of either creativity or developing content, because at the end of the day, we talk about creating a personal brand. Like my brand is different than my team's brand because their interests, their likes, their goals are probably different than mine. And it's trying to expose them to different ideas so they can say, okay, well, maybe if I did this, I can create something that's unique to me. So no, I do not make my team draw, but I see some people on here like Matt Dichter. I did make him draw, and he did very good at it.
All right, I'm just going to be my second Matt Dichter shout out. But yeah, he's an incredible man.
I want to chime in here on Keith's content though, because what Keith does really well is he does all three things. He educates, entertains, and engages, which is the big one. Because if you want your content to have any sort of meaningful reception or any sort of ongoing return on investment, you have to engage. And so you do have to spend, I would say an hour a day, and most social media, Gary Vee says there's never enough content. You could post 7 times a day and it wouldn't be enough. And so, but what I would say is you need to be engaged. If that's what you want, you need to engage breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you need to spend at least an hour a day engaging with content that you're distributing. But you can also leverage technology. So like I schedule my content. I don't have time during the week. Now I will make time to engage, but I will not make time to distribute anymore. I'll use a tool like Later. Other people use Hootsuite or Sprout or what have you. But I do not have time to create content during the week. And Keith, I'm confident you probably do much of the same. But you do have to engage if you want people to really, if you want to see the ROI.
And exactly.
And also with that, what else I'd comment on is commenting on everyone else that you're following, right? So making sure that you're engaging with your network, with your followers. There's so many people, and we're using LinkedIn as a platform right now, well, that's what we're talking about. But there's so many people. I've got however many thousand followers, and it's obviously physically possible to connect and obviously, to comment on posts, but so many people shy away from doing it at all. And I think they're all about posting their own content and kind of pumping up their own personal brand. But I think where you could have the actual biggest impact is actually getting amongst all of your connections and all of your followers and actually, adding value to their stories, or ultimately what they're obviously trying to market and promote as well. And I see some real value in doing that.
Really, really good point, F. And tying it back into what Keith said before, it's about differentiation. Now, and tying back to another thing we spoke about before, it's the more people realize that to hack the LinkedIn system is by engaging. It also brings in an influx of people hiring virtual assistants to comment for them. Like it has to be super real. It has to be authentic, because so many people, if you write a thought-provoking comment, and it's happened to me, I'll go to a conference and someone who I commented on their post 6 months ago, just with something really thought-provoking that related back to their content, and they come up to me and it's like, remember when you said that? And if you can't follow that conversation with them like you did on LinkedIn 6 months before, then it's going to seem unauthentic. And this is, again, back to UF. Like and this is back to differentiation. One of the biggest things that I've seen with you over the past 2.5 years is your ability to grow Collar, your ability to grow this massive, like hyper-focused 80% temp agency, but using things like media, using good PR, and using content. When it comes to your own staff, your employees, like what's the training or the focus you're giving them to do similar things, to give them the I guess the confidence to maybe in the future start their own business, or show them the signs and the ways to actually be able to stand out from the rest? Because not everyone can build a 140 person recruitment agency in 2.5 years like you have.
Yeah, look, thanks, mate. I mean, I've got LinkedIn to really to thank for a lot of the growth with Collar. 145 permanent full-time staff, less than 10% of our workforce have come through Rec to X. They've all come referrals network and predominantly from LinkedIn. And, we're able to announce and say for 2 years in a row, we're officially the fastest growing recruitment agency in Australia. Where do we get that data from? Well, we get it from LinkedIn. LinkedIn actually called us and said, hey, by the way, guys, your agency is the fastest growing recruitment agency in Australia. So from a marketing point of view, there's so much power in LinkedIn telling us that, right? And obviously when we go to market and obviously we advertise that we've been told now we're the fastest growing recruitment agency, there's so many marketing kind of campaigns that you can run off the back end of that. In regards to our internal staff, look, similar to what Keith was saying, we'll obviously kind of show them the intricacies and the algorithms, obviously what works, what doesn't work, what time to post, when is a good time, when's a bad time. Obviously we're based over on the west coast of Australia, so we're either 3 or 2 hours behind the east coast of Australia. So again, that strategy of being up nice and early in the morning, I'm normally an early riser, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm posting, but you want to be posting to catch that traffic. So even using kind of initiatives like that as to when more eyeballs are going to be seeing your posts. And obviously the hashtags and obviously the tagging people and all that jazz does obviously make a profound impact on the amount of views that ultimately your post would get. But there's a number of providers out there. I mean, I speak very highly of Sean Anderson at Huxo. So the Huxo media guys obviously do a number of online training courses specifically tailored around LinkedIn. And they really focus on, your views, your comments, ultimately, how far of a reach your post or your comments are actually getting. And I guess it's all about the big data analytics as well, actually reporting and providing the team members stats on how many views they are getting, how wide obviously how far the post has actually gone, and really using that data on a daily and weekly basis. So i.e., I know, for example, in the Rivervale office in Perth, there's a team there that have basically, they've got a competition going where on a weekly basis they'll be checking to see who's got the most views, who's got the most comments, who's got the most engagement. So you can have a lot of fun with it as well. And everyone on this, on this call would probably say the same thing. The biggest advice I'd give to anybody on LinkedIn is just post it. What's the worst that can happen, And I think the more confident you get, and it doesn't have to be War and Peace. It doesn't have to be, you can literally just do a couple of sentences. I'm dyslexic myself, so you'll never see my post being, too long, because it just takes me far too. It actually makes me really tired to write long posts. I just overthink it. Have I got the right grammatical? Have I made grammatical errors or whatever the case may be? And that took. I think it comes down to a confidence thing, right? And the last thing you want to do is you put a post up and nobody comments on it, nobody likes it, and it literally just sits there dormant, right? Yeah. Everyone's done that, though. Everyone on this call would have posted something once upon a time on LinkedIn and had an absolute shit result, right? Or basically nobody's engaged or whatever the case may be. But it hasn't stopped us from posting again. I think you just got to roll with the punches and ultimately don't be afraid to get your personal brand out there. The business Collar Talent Group, again, I can say hand on heart, as how the brand has become such a household name in Australia is all down to LinkedIn, as well as Seek and obviously the Indeeds and the Glassdoors of the world. Absolutely. It's a prolonged attack. No one I personally don't think that LinkedIn is, you know, the sole solution to this. But at the same time, you know, from being in recruitment, there's so much money to be made on LinkedIn. And that's not necessarily just from a candidate generation point of view. For us as a business, our LinkedIn strategy is all around clients. We want to be basically engaging with clients. You know, we want to be winning the largest accounts. Now, how do we win those largest accounts? Well, we've got to start somewhere, right? So we'll start with the smaller accounts. We'll service them. Obviously, we'll ideally move up the ranks through their preferred supplier agreement. Back end, obviously, and then market what we're doing with that particular client. And on the back end of that, then take that into a new meeting with a new client. That's how we've grown as an organization. I mean, we've made over 20,000 placements in the last 2.5 years as a business, which is just extraordinary. You know, if we look at the internal team that we've got, you know, we've got over 500 years worth of recruitment knowledge and experience under the collar business. So it's bringing all that. You asked earlier, what are we doing as a business? It's not just me; it's all the other leaders in the business as well that are bringing ideas over from, you know, the top 5 recruitment brands globally, and that's what's setting us up for success. I personally believe.
Yeah, and so one of the key things you said there was like, what's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst? Honestly, what is the worst that can happen?
Oh, it's so refreshing to hear that from you, because most CEOs and founders in the recruitment industry think very differently to you on that.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of worried what the clients are going to think, worried what the candidates are going to think, worried what the competitors are going to think, the 3 C's. Now, I'm a big fan of bringing humor in to content. It's something that people often can see a relatability to. I mean, what's the piece of advice that you can give to recruiters out there that don't necessarily have as progressive a CEO as you, that are basically in a situation where they're getting told that they can't post, or everything has to be within the brand guidelines of their agency?
Oh, look, it's a tough question, right? I mean, each company has their own, I guess, policies in place. For us, it's a free-for-all. I mean, ultimately, I want the entire business on LinkedIn on a daily basis. Me personally, I don't do any social media. The only social media I do is LinkedIn. And if I'm going to spend time on social media, I want to be making money from it. And I think, you know, so I think if we're all kind of singing and dancing and kind of moving in that direction, the whole business gets behind it. Now, we know in the industry over here, we've got competitors that actually ban their staff from liking any of our posts, or from even, they actually tell them they need to connect with a number of our team members. You know, for me, it's just paranoia. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool to be used if it's used correctly, that it can add so much value to the business. And I think all these businesses that are getting paranoid about LinkedIn, or basically, you know, trying to put policies in place, they're the ones that are going to get left behind. You know, and I think it's already started to happen. I mean, in the Australian landscape, I don't know about yourself, Lauren and Keith, but certainly in Australia, if we're looking at all the, I guess, the results that are coming in from the major recruitment firms, you know, they're all hemorrhaging. The revenue is basically, you know, significantly down year on year. But then you've got a new business like, you know, Collar, who will do 120 million turnover this year. We're forecasted 300 next year. The year after that, we're forecasted 500. Year 5, we're actually on track to do $1 billion. That's where we want to be. So we're taking market share off these larger companies. Are we reinventing the wheel? Are we doing anything different than what they've been doing for generations? Well, we're not. We're just adding more service to it. We're adding more personality to it. And, you know, the LinkedIn, the content, we're now getting all our clients involved. So, you know, when we go and pitch for a client now, we actually show them basically marketing campaigns that we've run on LinkedIn for competitors, and then show them the results and show them basically, you know, the impact that that's had on their recruitment drive. So you've got the LinkedIn Talent Insights, which is an incredible piece of technology, i.e. content. You know, the content that you get from LinkedIn Talent Insights is just next level. You know, that will give you the ammo that you need to walk into any client meeting and really kind of, you know, well, I guess ultimately show them that you know what you're talking about because you've done your research. Everything's so available to us at the moment. I think those companies that are kind of shying away and don't want the teams to be engaging. As I say, they will be the businesses that are really struggling over the next couple of years.
You're 100% correct.
So I want to chime in here because LinkedIn isn't the be all end all. Like, Top Voices is collaborative articles generated by AI, which I love the fact that Top Voices is out there. LinkedIn is experimenting with AI generated content. I think that's amazing, but also realize there are other social channels out there that are equally as impactful. We've got a huge volume of millennials and Gen Zs on Instagram. Facebook actually this year is getting more traction than any of the other social platforms out there, including LinkedIn, for specific demographics. So it's really important that you look at your social strategy across all planes of or all mediums and all brands of content out there. And create community in each one of these places. So it is a lot of responsibility, but you must have either a personal strategy or your brand must have a strategy to cover the whole gamut of your social platforms out there. And it's important to know, to have a strategy of who do you want to talk to. 60% of the people on LinkedIn are millennials. 20% are Gen Z, only 15% are Gen Xers. So you've got to know which audience and which demographic do you want to talk to, where are they congregating, and then take your strategy from there.
Yeah, CLG, community-led growth, Lauren, 100%. And it's one thing I didn't make it up. It's actually a term.
One thing I wanted to add is we're talking a lot about social and LinkedIn, and it's a great strategy. It's a longer term strategy that takes longer. I want to share, if it's okay, share some of the creative outreach that I've gotten from sellers lately that I think anybody on the call can implement. That's like just to get their brains going. So, and Hamish, you may have saw this. I saw this one 3 years ago. Sarah Brazier from Gong. She went on Cameo.
Sarah, one of my best friends. I love Sarah.
Yeah, she went on Cameo, which is a website where you can pay to have celebrities give messages. She went out and found the Old Spice guy, put a message that she wanted him to say. She took that and then sent it to her prospect. I know if I got something like that immediately catch my attention because it cuts through the clutter. Another video one that I saw that was really great, the seller was prospecting into Buffalo Wild Wings. So he did his video while eating blazing hot wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. He's going through his pitch. He's sweating. He's like drinking. Again, it was creative. It was
amazing,
hilarious. Couple other things just to call out. One thing to think about when you're reaching out, my friend Nate Nasrallah calls it the weird test. Like if you sent this message to anybody else and they'd be like, this is weird, it means that you pass the weird test, meaning that the message is highly personalized to the person that you're sending it to, right? And think of that as you're reaching out. If anybody else got that message, would they be like, oh, this is weird? Or if the person that did get it, would they be like, oh, that I totally know why I'm getting this message? Is a real simple way to think when you're doing outreach.
Oh, there's
I love it.
There's a difference between weird, funny, and creepy. And I've hit all of them. There's a difference between scrolling.
Try to stay away from creepy as much as possible, though, Hamish.
Like I once went through someone's Instagram and went back like 150 weeks or something, and saw them as a teenager.
Oh no! Did you like something?
No, I didn't. But I saw them in a My Chemical Romance shirt and like quoted My Chemical Romance lyrics over a video, and they were like, what are you even talking about? Like, it has to be. And I'm like, oh, remember the time you went to the concert in Australia 3 years ago? They're like, dude,
150 weeks ago, you creepy guy. That's amazing.
And it has to be relevant enough that people actually remember. like even if you can find a photo of them with their dad hiking Mount Washington, like they might not connect the dots. So it is one of those things where you have to make it so relevant that people actually go, oh, do you know what? That's kind of smart. That's a little bit cheeky, but it's also a little cute. So I'm gonna go with it.
Oh, look, I actually had somebody reach out to me just before Christmas for some advice. He's an entrepreneur, a solo recruiter, and I gave him some advice. And literally, a gift turned up to my office, and he'd actually purchased a hoodie and embroidered my son's name on it. So it's basically Finn established 2022, and he bought me that as a thank you. Now, I can absolutely guarantee this guy has got a hotline to me whenever he wants, 24 hours a day, on the basis of this gift that he bought me. Right? I mean, it was so thoughtful. Yeah, and I've personally never received anything like that. So people are definitely getting a lot more smarter and a lot more cleverer with, I guess, how they can potentially open those initial doors from a BD point of view. But yeah, my son absolutely loves his hoodie with Finn on.
Oh, it's flattery and love is always going to be
yeah.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Keith knows I'm all about that. So since some of the best deals I've done have been through flattery. But in terms of, I mean, we got like 1 minute left. How about you guys give the audience some plugs? Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. And vanity URLs work too. I'm the GOAT leader on LinkedIn. I'm Leap Jones on Instagram. I'm L Buff on Twitter. You can find me anywhere. So I try and play to all of the mediums out there, and I'm Leap on Facebook as well. So that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. Ephraim?
Yeah, guys, good old Google. Type in Ephraim. Having a good name like Ephraim, it's obviously the most common of names. Type in Ephraim Stevenson into Google. You'll be able to get all my contact details there from any of the sources.
Same. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'll connect with you. Simple.
He might even reply. Bigger he gets, the less he will. But I'll put his mobile number in here so you can just text him directly. No, I'm kidding. All right. Thanks, team. This has been great, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.